This is 5 on 20 News with Luke Goodhart.
And Ty Besh. It is May.
It's May. It's Wednesday.
May
24th.
And we're coming to you live from our studios in downtown Tucson. Today we're going to talk about a little recap of the news of the day. Do you want to start?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I got something local for you.
Great.
So yesterday, Tuesday, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that being in an area involving suspicious activity does not give the police the right to search a person. The case stemmed from the situation of Anthony Primus, who was searched by Phoenix police, who found 2 grams of marijuana in his apartment, which is not very much at all.
Not a lot, actually.
Not a whole. I'd probably have that much in my pocket right now.
What?
JK. Judges said that Primus didn't pose a threat to officers and who, in fact, had his infant sitting on his lap the time the officers arrived.
He's a family man.
Family man, just sitting there hanging out with his kid. The police were in his apartment building because they were searching for a suspect who was not Primus with an outstanding warrant who they believed was selling weapons. Officers found 4 men outside the building, including Primus, who they proceeded to search. Supreme Court Justice Clint Bollock said that the search was unreasonable and the marijuana charge was thrown out. The court acknowledged that the encounter occurred in a dangerous area, but said that this does not authorize officers to perform searches.
You know, I have this weird feeling, and this is just my opinion, that typically marijuana and weapons don't go hand in hand.
Right, I don't think someone getting like massively blazed and then going on a shooting spree.
I gotta go kill somebody.
Just not
maybe
the
later,
drug
though.
of choice for rampages like that.
I'll just go get on my board with a gun. Let's go boarding. Anyways, so next story, is this one local? Yeah, kind of. Arizona Teachers Union is condemning a decision by Governor Doug Ducey to veto the change to the evaluation process used for the state's teachers. The change would have lowered the percentage based on a standardized test used to evaluate teachers' performances. Scoring would also exclude students who weren't in the classroom for the entire year, which normally pulls down a teacher's performance rating, of course. The change, well, first impression, right? The change would have excluded test scores if the teacher doesn't teach the course or courses that the tests cover. Ducey said that the change would only water down the performance system and would lessen the focus on improving student outcomes in the state. This reminds me a lot of university. When they were like real nice for those last couple days of class. Do you remember this in university? And then they'd be like, okay, well, my TA is gonna pass out just like a small
Here's my
little
teacher evaluation.
Yeah, just like be honest. There's a note
Just
section.
remember how nice I've been these last
I would
couple
love to
of days.
improve. Please put as many notes as you'd like. And I loved having you. I always heard that. I loved having you guys as a class. Like, oh, interesting.
Oh, bull.
Yeah. Anyways,
We were nightmares. Anyway, let's switch to national news here. The GOP leadership is spreading talking points written by the cable industry that defend last week's decision to overturn net neutrality rules. Last week, the FCC voted to change regulations regarding net neutrality, which forces internet service providers to treat all web traffic in the same way. The rule prevents cable providers from charging fees to speed up service and prevents them from slowing down service if a company isn't able to pay, basically making it an even playing field for anyone who wants to access the internet. Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers of Washington State begins sending an electronic toolkit to members of her fellow Republican congressmen. The Intercept looked into the metadata of the toolkit and found that it was created by Carrie Landon, who works for a trade group that lobbies for Comcast, Cox, Charter, and other cable industry companies. The document refers the recipients to particular quotes they can use to attack net neutrality and convince the public why it was a good idea to overturn it. Broadband for America, the cable industry-funded group that created the document, has long acted as a middleman between the cable industry and lobbyists, consultants, and cable news pundits to spread their gospel of deregulation.
You know, and I wanted to take it. Oh, we're not going to read that paragraph today. I wanted to take a second.
We don't have to say damn it today.
Well, yeah, Jeff, put some like patriotic music behind us. I want to let you guys know, no matter what happens, no matter what Trump does to us, we are going to bring you the news, and we're going to bring the truth, and hopefully you can still listen to it. But no matter what happens to net neutrality, we're going to always bring the truth and the gospel of, what's our gospel?
I don't know. At the very least, we'll be screaming the news from the roof if they take away our
we're going to bring the gamut of truth, the gospel gamut of truth to you guys. So keep fighting, all right, for net neutrality rights. A federal ethics office rejected a claim by budget director Mick Mulvaney. That they lack authority to demand information on lobbyists who were granted waivers to work in the Trump administration. In one of his first executive orders, Donald Trump banned lobbyists from working in his administration, which continued a tradition begun by actually President Obama. However, just like during Obama's tenure, lobbyists could serve in the administration if they are provided with a waiver. In 2009, Republican Chuck Grassley asked the same ethics office to reveal how many waivers were given by the Obama administration. Some of those same Republicans that supported Grassley are now saying that the ethics office doesn't have the authority to investigate this information. Funny how that works. Yeah, there's a lot of investigation actually going on.
Hypocritical bull roar.
Yeah, Russia wasn't involved.
Were they? Probably. All right, one of the few bright spots in Trump's otherwise miserable budget proposal that slashes programs for the poor is a program that would provide paid leave for new parents. The $25 billion proposal would give 6 weeks of paid leave for mothers and fathers after the birth or adoption of a child. Ivanka Trump spearheaded the program, but it will certainly face opposition by the Republican-controlled Congress, who generally oppose new spending on social programs unless it involves blowing something up. The U.S. is the only country in the industrialized world that doesn't have paid leave for new parents. California, New Jersey, and Rhode Island currently provide paid family leave, while New York will launch their own program this year. However, advocates of family leave are criticizing the plan as phony and insufficient. They point out that 6 weeks is minuscule compared to the 12-week national standard, and especially compared to the 39 weeks of family leave provided in the UK. They also point out that same-sex couples are not mentioned at all in the proposal.
Well, I thought Trump signed something that basically said that they weren't like people anymore, right? That they can't vote.
That did come through.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
why. Yeah. Actually, yeah. And speaking of this reminds me. I have heard a lot of people recently have been, putting in their 2 weeks and moving to New York for that very reason. But at the same time, I saw this thing in Italy, this documentary about Italy, and they make like Ducati. They make all this beautiful fashion, all these amazing things that are done really well. And yeah, they have months off of paid vacation. Right. And then they have a child, they have like 6 months or something stupid. But they still are able to make these amazing products. So interesting how that works out.
Maybe that's why they don't have raging opioid problems.
Exactly.
Their quality of life
That was
is
France,
great.
I thought. Yeah.
Well, everywhere but here.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so is this our last one?
I believe this is our last story here. What do we got
finish
here?
It off strong. The Trump administration again named Catherine Gorka, a controversial anti-Muslim activist, as an advisor to the Department of Homeland Security, or DOHS, their policy office. In the past, Gorka criticized the DHS for teaching employees that Islam is a religion of peace, which she says is wrong. She is also the wife of Sebastian Gorka, the even more controversial deputy and assistant to the president, who holds ties to far-right groups in Hungary and was former national security editor for Breitbart News. His wife, who contributed She contributed to Breitbart as well, where she wrote in 2014 that Hillary Clinton's aide, Huma Abedin, was connected with the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Islam extremists had infiltrated the White House during the Obama years. Wow.
What a peach of a woman.
That's insane. Well, that's the recap of the news today, the short recap, a little bit of our opinions. Next, we actually, Joel Foster, you might know him, he writes the headlines. We talked to this man from Palestine. He's a filmmaker. He had something over at what's the photography museum at Arizona on the campus?
Center for Creative Photography?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. He had an exhibit there. So we talked to him for a while, and this is a little 10-minute piece from his interview, and he talked about what's it like in Palestine now and what he saw there and what he was documenting. He actually, by the time we're airing this now, he's already gone back to Palestine. So this will be a short little 10-minute thing of what he thinks of Palestine and what's happening with all of his art.
Right on.
So that was the news.
This was Luke Goodhart for 5 on 20 News.
Ty Besh.
Oh, and Ty Besh. Sorry, buddy.
Thank you.
Stay creative, Tucson.
See you guys.
My name is Khaled Jarrar, and I am an artist from Jenin in the West Bank in Palestine. And currently I live, I'm based in Ramallah. And yeah, I grew up like in my hometown, like under the military regime, where we raised like we grew up like fighting this military machine in our face, and we learned like from our childhood how to resist for freedom and for social justice, for human rights, and that background, I think it's kind of became a very consistent in my path in art and also in my practice in art. And because the occupation continue till now, and for me, I'm always trying to find a way to tell the story of that people who need a voice. And I found myself that I am good with visual, and how I translate that stories to visual, where I can communicate with other people. And I don't need just the vocabulary to communicate with people. And what I'm going to show here, it's a film called Infiltrators. And this film, I followed Palestinians in their attempts to cross this huge obstacle, the concrete wall. And as Israeli, they pretend, or they promote it as a security wall. And so this is the big lie. It's like you need to promote it within the mental of the people, of their own people, that this is the security wall. Then they can convince that people, their own people, that we need your taxes, your money to build this wall for your own security. And in my film, I prove that this is just a big lie, because if it is for security, how come that I succeed to document thousands of people who succeed to cross that wall? And sometimes in the weekend, I succeed to document more than like 400 to 500 people who cross the wall. And I think it's very good timing now within this Mr. Trump, who's trying to promote the wall for your own protection, and how he starts changing that, oh, you will not pay for it, the Mexican will pay for it. And now he's an obstacle because Mexican said, we will not pay for your shit. This is not our problem, it's your problem. And now he's trying to make a new way of promoting it for the people here, to steal the taxes and to pay for the wall. And of course, then there is some companies that will be involved in that. So the business like beyond the wall, it's just to profit a certain amount of people. And that's why for me, walls is it's a failure policy. It's a policy that just try to raise the anxiety of the people from others, rather than spread love or spread like tolerance or spread bridges between people. They spread hate. And people became more racist because of these stupid politicians. The interaction is daily, it's every day. Mm-hmm. Because the Israelis, they are like in their military camps that are inside the West Bank. It's in our own territories. Like imagine, like in the south part of Tucson, there is a military camp for your occupiers, and they can come to the city whenever they want. Mm-hmm. So we are still occupied till now. And the wall there, they build it inside the Palestinian territories. Mm-hmm. They just build the wall within the Palestinian villages, within the Palestinian landscape, within the Palestinian, like on the Palestinian lands.
It isn't even on the border.
No, it's not on the border at all. Uh-huh. Yeah, part of it it's on the border, but the biggest part of it is inside the Palestinian territories. Mm. Yeah, like Israelis, they are surrounding the Palestinian cities.
Okay.
Yeah. So around the Palestinian cities, if you want to go from one city to one Palestinian city mm-hmm. to another Palestinian city, you will interact with the Israeli soldiers, the military regime. Yeah. And nowadays, like the Palestinian prisoners, they are in hunger strike for more than 17 days. For more than 17 days, like there's 1,500 Palestinian prisoners who are fighting for their rights, because most of them, they are under administrative detention. They are inside the prison with no crimes, with nothing, just because Israel, they felt that these guys are they are trying to promote that they are a threat for them, and they just put them in jail. under administrative detention. They have no offensive against them. They didn't commit any offense. And these prisoners now, they are fighting for their rights. And the Palestinians also, like, they are going to the clashes point with the Israelis in a peaceful demonstration. And Israelis, like, they shoot live bullets back and tear gas and other kind of bullets. Yeah, but like the military regime, when they get like hopeless and useless and they can't really force their power on people, especially when you are using a non-violence strategy to fight against the occupation by art, by music, by boycotting their product. This is the biggest threat for them. If you just stop like buying their product, then like what's happening now, there is the BDS. BDS is boycott, divest, sanctuary for Israel. And Israel, they're trying to criminalize anybody who's supporting this movement, because this movement is very effective against them, because it's, in the end of the day, it looks like Israel, it looks like a company where they produce and they develop guns and they develop drones and walls. And now it's very clear, Israel and Arizona, they have a very good like connection by building the wall, and a lot of border control people here, they go to Israel to get trained by the Israelis. Sure. And Israelis, they are selling their technology within Raytheon here and drones, and Israel is taking a big part of building the walls here. The media, it has, like mainstream media is always like playing role for the people in power. And people in power are the ones who are fed by the people in business. And business and power, they work together, and they feed the media, and the media, they feed their lies. So it's all of Israel, they are very good in propaganda. And they really know exactly how to change like things from real to fake and to show it as it real. Yeah. But nowadays, as Palestinians, like before, we used to be so in close-up by Israel. We are like in a bubble that we can't see what's outside. But now, with social media, we have our own media. We are reaching more people. Our cause became more clear for people. Like it's people mind are changing. It's slow changing, but it's coming, it's happening. Because anti-Semitic now, anti-Semi and like xenophobia is rising in USA. And for us as Palestinians, like in the Middle East, we were like the first people who welcomed the Jewish from when they were escaping from the First World War I and the First World War II. And a lot of Jewish people, in their exodus, they escaped to the Middle East. So they came to our land and they stay in our land as Palestinians and as Syrian. We gave them even a citizenship. So there is nothing to do with the Jewish people. Like it's, for us, like we have a culture of tolerance. We have a culture of hospitality. So whenever people came to us, we welcome them. But it's, for us, we have a fight with the occupation. We don't have a fight with the Israeli people. We have a lot of Israeli friends, and we have a lot of Israeli people who are like even stronger against the occupation than us, and they are fighting the occupation with us, and they are supporting us. So they are supporting the freedom of movement, mobility, and the freedom of justice. We are all fighting for equality. And even these guys who is fighting the occupation, they are treated very bad from their government. Yeah, but this is how they feed the media, by their bullshit. And now with the Trump era, like all the media is confused. Like there is no president who's like coming to the media and talk to them. No, he just go to Twitter, 3 in the morning from his bathroom on Twitter, and he feed the media with his bullshit that, oh, Obama is wiring me, Mexican are rapists, blah, 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 blah. And the media, they are eating that shit.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the media, they are really eating that shit. And I think that guy, he's just like trying to miss everything, and then he can do whatever he wants. So it's like dividing and conquer. This is what he's doing.